Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host, broadcasting live from, not Roseville, Minnesota. I guess I'm in the east side, Lake Elmo, Minnesota. This is a show that's usually broadcast live at 1 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Today we're doing a special show at 11 a.m. We got a great guest joining us. Jesse, what will we be talking about today?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about a Supreme Court case that went down in Minnesota. We've got Sara Forbes joining us, whose son was charged with an obscure law relating to guns, and we've seen a new victory come out of the Minnesota Supreme Court, so that will be a lot of fun to break down. We'll also talk about the Senate District 29 GOP Endorsing Convention, the results, and some of the details of that event. And we will also talk about something that hasn't gotten a whole lot of reporting, which is the Young Republican National Convention, where the Minnesota Young Rhinos went and participated, and they voted for the establishment in a rigged, manipulated election with superdelegates. So that's going to be a good story for everybody to keep an eye on, because they're an affiliate of the MNGOP, and that's the kind of activity that they're allowing at their national convention.
If you want to interrupt us any time, just hit that Rumble Rant or Super Chats button. Rumble Rant's on Rumble, Super Chats is on YouTube. We'll go ahead and read your comment live on the air. All right, without further ado, let's bring in Sara. Sara, how you doing today?
Very good. better than we were 2+ years ago. I was looking back at some of the video, and I'm like, I don't think I smiled once. And man, I have aged significantly in the last 2 years. So
it's not noticeable to us, yeah. But I agree with the smiling. We interviewed you 2 years ago on the show because there was a case with your son that was really interesting to us. Actually, you have two sons, but this is your older son, Walker. Give us a quick summary, because even if people watch that show 2 years ago, it's probably hard for them to remember all the details of it, and then why the Supreme Court ruling was so important.
So 3 years ago, we connected a year ago because for the first year I was pretty silent on everything, trying to just navigate it, a little bit concerned about just this issue, so this has been going on with our family for over 3 years. Walker at the time was 20, and he had assembled two rifles. Walker is a lawful gun owner, hunt, fish, all of that kind of stuff. So there's nothing prohibiting him from having firearms in any capacity, but he's a mechanic and he's a tinkerer. And so he was like, let's see what I can do. And this is really cool. He did not do it in any way that was, he did it correctly. He checked everything. We're good to go. Through just some weird circumstances, he was on private property, and there was a noise complaint. And again, being 20 years old, not having much experience with law enforcement at this point, other than his liaison officer at the school that he, kind of grown up with, answered all their questions, showed him his firearms, and then we're off to the races. And he was charged with two felony counts of possession of a firearm without a serial number. And for the last 3 years, we've been going through this battle, he's kind of bounced around to kind of land on the judge that he finally was with. It was just kind of the timing of it was kind of a holdover with COVID. So there was one judge retiring that took the case and then retired. And then another judge that had come out of retirement during COVID had the case for a hot minute. And then he went and retired. And then we kind of got settled with the judge that he's had ever since then. Where yesterday comes into play
So this is in Sherburne County, and for people that don't know, maybe aren't from Minnesota, we're talking about like a red county, northwest of the Twin Cities area. So we're not talking about like, people could see this happening in like Hennepin or Ramsey County with like a far left prosecutor. This is like the we call Greater Minnesota in some regards, outside the metro area. Prosecuted for what is considered, from our vantage point, a very obscure and very poorly written law. And Jesse, I think we looked this up before. It was like added to some omnibus bill like over a decade ago with
30 plus years,
30 years
94.
ago. I always played safe.
Long
Yes,
time.
decades ago, 94.
Long time ago.
Yes, and this is one of the problems because we always talk about how bad these omnibus bills are because they just insert a bunch of stuff. And so people are voting on the great package and they'll say, oh, we did this great thing, we fed the children or whatever, and it's like, yes, but all this bad stuff comes into it. And then it really impacts the lives of people like your son because, all of a sudden he is now some prosecutor, overambitious prosecutor is trying to prosecute him for some obscure law. So from your understanding, like what is the argument that they're making? I know you don't believe their argument, but what was the argument from this prosecutor in Sherburne County?
So the argument is that the way that the law was written, it was about the removal of serial numbers. It was broken up into 3 bullet points, and that last bullet point, there was some the way that it was written led certain people, prosecutors, to believe that this would be a way to charge people with being in possession of a firearm without a serial number, regardless of where that falls under federal, like what federal law says. And
let me pull this up here.
We believe,
this is from Gallagher Criminal Defense. He wrote about, I think he had done this in a court case. So this is a pretty good write-up, GallagherDefense.com. You can check it out. And so what the actual statute says, here we go. It's statute 609.667. And as you mentioned, there are 3 different parts of it. Oh my God. I had this all ready to go. Okay, here we go. 609.667. So the first part is if someone obliterates, removes, changes, or alters the serial number or other identification of firearm, not what was happening with Walker, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Number 2, receives or possesses a firearm, the serial number or other identification of which has been obliterated, removed, changed, or altered. Not Walker's case here, right?
Correct.
Okay. And some people would understand that this was written because this was a stolen item. Someone's trying to hide that stolen item. Okay.
Right.
So you can understand from that perspective. So really what they were doing is pursuing number 3, receives or possesses a firearm. So really it's possessed because he built it. That is not identified by a serial number as used in this section. Serial number or other identification means the serial number and other identification required under United States Code Title 26, Section 5842 for the identification of firearms. So their argument is he possessed a firearm that he should not have, that did not have a serial number, which I don't even know what the serial number is, honestly, to be honest with you, because it seems like it's an arbitrary number. Did that firearm even have numbers on it?
I believe it did. It because the parts or whatever did have like numbers on it, and so it wasn't something that was I see, I'm just gonna sound so stupid when I start talking about this gun stuff because this is like not this is not my thing, right? But yeah, but it didn't have a quote unquote serial number. However, because under that sentence it does reference federal law, he's covered, right? And the big issue became, did the federal law apply to bullet point 3, which is specifically what he was charged with, 609.667.3.3. And not just Walker, but the case that made its way to the Supreme Court and then other cases.
I don't know if I specified that. The case that we're going to talk about here was actually Vagel. It was not him. What happened was, so Walker's being prosecuted by Sherburne County's prosecutor, and then he's basically been on hold for a year? I mean, you and I chat infrequently. Maybe to tease you a little bit about Trump here, because your sons are such big Trump supporters, and you're maybe not as much.
Not so much.
But yeah, we've just been keeping updated with you on this stuff. But it's been just like in a hold for, I think it's been a year, because they wanted to see what happened in this case.
Correct? So essentially, I'm not even sure that we knew about this other case. And then last like winter of 2024 is when we started hearing about it. And that was when we first heard about it, is when it had gone to the appeals, and the appeals said, and then that's how we originally heard about it. Oral
Well, hold on,
argument. So
don't skip over this part.
sorry.
The appeals court threw it out, and it was the state of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, wanting.
No, the trial. So at the trial level, so the district court level, the judge in Anoka County looked at the argument, which I believe was centered around like void for vagueness, being that the law is arbitrarily vague, and it's hard to understand, and it got dismissed. It was at that point that then my understanding is Keith Ellison came in and then appealed it, and then the Court of Appeals looked at the law and was like, yeah, it looks good. Sorry, you back to square one. And then at that point is when they appealed it.
The gentleman was basically pulled over, and he was carrying a pistol, which he didn't have a permit to carry.
I think so.
He got dinged for that. And then they were also trying to charge him because it was, like a ghost gun, not a serial. Right.
Right. So two separate things.
Takes it amongst himself to try to prosecute this case at a higher level. And then that's where it ends up at the Supreme Court through appeals.
So then they petitioned and had said, hey, can you take a look at this? And then that hearing happened in June of 24. So over a year ago is when the oral arguments for Vagel happened, and we've just been waiting. And the Supreme Court, can take as much time as they want, as we, have 14 months to rule on this. So Walker is, so essentially, to answer your question, Walker's case has been essentially put on hold for the better part of, we'll call it a year and a half. Knowing that this was heading to the Supreme Court is kind of when it was like, well, we can't really do anything. We need to kind of let this play out. And so it's just been a waiting game. And where we were accustomed to going into this every 6 weeks to 2 months, we would get a court hearing, go before the judge, just that kind of thing. I mean, I don't think we had been inside of a courtroom, and gosh, it's probably getting close to over a year and a half, I would think. But we just knew that was there, and so it's like we just kind of not moved on with life, but it was like we're just continuing to go through life, but just knowing that that thing is here, and knowing every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. is when opinions come out of the Supreme Court. And for the first couple weeks and months after oral arguments, it was like trembling, like clicking, like, checking. And Walker's attorney's like, guys, you don't have to torture yourself every Wednesday at 10. I promise I will let you know. And then, he'd have another hearing, but then it would just, that Wednesday before the hearing would come and go, and there's no, news from the Supreme Court. And so then they would just agree to kind of kick it out. So his last hearing was supposed to be at the end of July, and had been pushed out to November. And that was like 2 weeks ago. And then this came up. It's like the one Wednesday where I'm just like going about my business. Walker's like living his best life, going up to, We Fest for like the first time ever. Because again, like the last 3 years, it's like you go to work, you go home, you go to baseball, you come to mom's, and like that's it, right? Like you stay out of trouble. And we get a text message yesterday morning from his attorney, and I like read it, and both Walker and I are like, what does this mean? And like we're trying to call each other, and of course we're getting each other's voicemail, because we're like, and I've got like a office full of patients, and I'm like, okay, keep it together, and I'm like crying and shaking, and and I think it's when I texted you, and it was just like,
you were shaking, you couldn't even
like I know, I was like, please don't ask questions, because I cannot give you a coherent answer right now. And then as we started to pull it up and look at it, it started to settle in, and then it was just, yeah.
Okay. Before I pull up the opinion, so Walker, if he was prosecuted, convicted, what was he facing?
So what each charge, and he was charged with 2, Each charge carried 5 years in prison and a 10,000 up to a $10,000 fine.
Wow.
So Walker, being, a pretty, I don't even know if he has a speeding ticket at this point, probably wouldn't have been looking at that. But obviously that is the number you settle on, right? Like that's what you're looking at,
Well,
is 10 years.
he would have been a felon, meaning he couldn't possess a firearm then.
Couldn't couldn't get into Canada,
Well,
would
I mean,
affect jobs for the left. Hey
so
now.
what on that one? No, just kidding, Sarah. Maybe you can put
Uh,
out the dang wildfires.
I know, trust me. I'm like, husband, I need you to do something about this
Yeah.
because I'm getting secondhand. And ironically, our place in Canada is kind of far enough east that a lot of times when we're getting smoked out down here, it's like, it's great up here. I don't know what the problem is. So it's like, oh, but yeah.
So
But yeah, no,
I want
felony would have been no guns, no job, like job impact, housing. Like there's so many things, and he's a baby adult. Like he was 20 when all this started, right? Like that's a lot.
a baby. Yeah, that's cute. It's a
He's
full
a
grown man.
baby adult. He's a baby adult. I'm a senior adult. He's a baby adult.
So I don't think you're a senior adult. I don't think we're that too far apart. So I don't want to go down that road. Okay, so the way I look at this case, right? He could have faced prison time. I know it would have been a far stretch, but he could have faced prison time. Who is the victim in this case? Like who was victimized by him having a weapon
Right.
that didn't have an arbitrary number?
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is insane that we would actually put someone in prison and there's no victim at all. Like, society's not the victim here. This doesn't
Right.
impact me one bit. No crime was committed. He wasn't hiding a crime. He didn't have some arbitrary number according to them. Okay. So, you as a mother, how does that make you feel? I mean, it's got to be nerve wracking. I think you're kind of alluding to it, but like, you
Right.
know, you didn't smile on that first show we had, John, 2 years ago.
Right. Right. Again, it has become something that has just become part of our life for 3 years that we somehow function in that dysfunction. I don't know a better way to say it. Like we just know it's there. And when he was having routine court hearings, it's like we would just kind of go about life, and then we would know that court hearing, and then it was like that acute stress the night before, just that the jitters, and now that's just kind of like we just know it's there, but it's. I mean, the big thing is like again, he has family in Canada. He hasn't been there in 6 years. Like that has been a huge thing. He's afraid to, you know, go hunting. He's just missed out on a lot because it's just we're like, what's the point in saving up for a house? Like he can't even like for sure buy a house because it's like, what if you go to prison? So all these things that like he's trying to progress as an adult are kind of like just blunted. Like we can't fully progress with him.
And that's what you want as a parent is you want to see your kids
Right.
launched and start a
Right.
career and find a spouse and have little
Right.
grandchildren running around,
Right. Right.
And this is 3 years that they have kind of like stolen and without them even serving time, right?
Right. Well, and that's what's so crazy is people kind of prepared us that they're like, if this goes to trial and he's convicted and we go through the appeals process, it's going to be really long. It's going to be a really long, drawn out process and
Mhm.
really expensive. We haven't even gotten, this has just been 3 years at this one level. Now, granted, we could have taken a plea and decided to end this, a long time ago. I'm, very happy that we did not go that route. I recognize that there are a lot of people now that are probably, contacting their attorneys, if
Yeah.
assuming they're not, behind bars going, well, what about me? Because I have had people reach out to me during this time that did they weren't in a position like Walker was, that, um, you know, and Walker, himself, has some connections. We're, really close to our state rep up here and our state senator. He works. He works at a car dealership in the county that people just know Walker, and so we have been so blessed by support. He comes to one of his siblings before they graduated football games or a lacrosse game or something like that, and it's like teachers and stuff like that. Walker, what's new? What's going on? What's going on with your case? Like, I go to the gym and people I don't even know are like, you Walker's mom, what's going on with him? And I don't even know these people. It's like people have been so supportive, and that truly has been what has gotten us through, is just knowing even my most liberal friends that have reached out to me, they're like, this is why you guys hate us. This is why nobody believes us when we say we want sensible gun laws, and like, this is wrong, so
Good.
and,
I hope
and
people's minds get changed on that.
and the bigger issue too, and I'm sure you guys will touch on this, is that it's not just about the privately made firearms. This ended up ballooning up into impacting the vast majority of people that have, especially in this state being a big hunting state, firearms that are pre 1968 that got wrapped up into this. And so there's a lot of people that are like, so you mean to tell me? And I'm like, yeah, that great grandpa's shotgun in your closet, or or whatever, that doesn't even work, that you just have kicking around. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. And so that really, I think, was the biggest issue that kind of came into play, is that the ramifications of this went so beyond Walker, so beyond the small number of people that have been caught up in this with the privately made firearms. The impact would have been just no short of like catastrophic for law abiding gun owners, in Minnesota, or people that come into the state for hunting and stuff like that.
All right, let's go through the Minnesota Supreme Court case, which obviously, or decision, I should say. Obviously, we're not going to cover the whole 45 pages. For those that don't understand the Minnesota Supreme Court, it is stacked full of left-wing judges. This court has done some pretty extreme things. One on self-defense, very famous one from last year. More recently, they literally told that the legislature quorum is 68. Like, they intervened and basically overrode what the legislature, another body, an equal branch of government, wants to do. They're far left. Jesse, you trying to say something?
No.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So this is a Supreme Court case, and the opinion, and this is what's so interesting, is written by Justice Thiessen, who is literally was the Democrat Speaker of the House. Oh, what is that, 6-8 years ago? It wasn't that long ago. Okay, so it's like, just when you think about, like, even a court that is very Democrat leaning, or not Democrat leaning, they're all Democrats, right? They're all appointed and then subsequently elected in the next election, but were appointed by either Mark Dayton or Tim Walz. Even in that court, justice prevailed. I think one of the overwhelming things, and by the way, there's two dissenters. One was the Chief Justice, Hudson, and then the other one was Procaccini. What's that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just about to say that too.
Okay, so this was something that we had talked about the other time, and this is part of the package that was released. These are auctioned items from the government. I think the DNR's auctions, and these are literally firearms that are being auctioned by the government without serial numbers. I mean,
you're forgetting one really big, ironic piece of information as to where the auction house was located. Sherburne County.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is just like, okay.
Right.
That's
It seems like such an overwhelming slam dunk. So while I praise the Minnesota Supreme Court for rendering a good opinion, sometimes the facts of the case are just so overwhelming, which is one of the reasons it's 45 pages long. There's a lot of facts in this case. But it's like, there's still two justices that dissented on it.
Yeah.
And like you said, this is huge ramifications. It's not just
Right.
Vagel here. It's not just Walker. It's a lot of different people that are at stake.
Yeah.
And then once again, no victims. So we're ready to throw people in jail or prison for a victimless crime.
Yeah. The thing that I read when I read the opinion that really stuck out to me was on page 19, where it talks about the legislative history. And reading through that, and they reference when this was in the House Judiciary Committee, um, that this issue, especially the pre 1968 firearms, was brought up. And it even says that its purpose was to give state authorities power to criminally enforce federal laws on firearm serial numbers and other identification.
Mhm.
So, like, the big issue at hand, it's addressed right there. And I um, I struggle to believe that our attorney general, being that he's an attorney himself and was a congressman, correct? Wasn't he?
It was, yeah,
Like,
he
you
was a
had to have known
congressman.
that was, you had to know that this was in here, and that's the thing that makes me like reading that you knew that this legislative history was there, and yet it was like, well, let's just try to go as long as we can. We have an endless budget to try to prosecute this out, and be damned the people that are caught up in this. Like, you knew that this was in there, and yet you didn't care about Walker. And how much money of taxpayer dollars have been spent prosecuting this?
Right.
Not just Walker. Like I said, our outcome, you know, like, is great, but like, that was the part when I read that, and I had to keep reading it, and I was just like, I'm just so frustrated that that was there. Like, I don't want to say I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed
Mhm. Yeah.
that it's like that. No, I'm pissed that's in there. Like, come on.
Well, but you have to understand that these people aren't doing things for, like, the righteous reasons. They're in this for politics,
I
and
know.
he's an anti-gun guy. And this is, I mean, any way that they could peel back the Second Amendment, any way they could peel back our natural rights to own firearms, they're going to pursue, because it's political belief that they have.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, this isn't quite dismissed just yet. So what's the future look like for your son?
So, my understanding is, it will. I think there's like a time period before this all gets into like the record, as far as like, I don't know, 30 days or something like that. So it's possible that it could take a little bit for things to finally wrap up with Walker. But his attorney has assured us that in the end, the charges against Walker, like, there's no path forward to prosecute. So it's just kind of a waiting game. And again, until we get that piece of paper, until I see it in writing that it's dismissed, it's like, we are going to celebrate, but we're just going to be very cautious, and obviously, you know, keep Walker, from getting speeding tickets or anything like that in the meantime.
I just
Um,
realized
yeah,
something. They probably confiscated his firearms.
they did. Yes.
Hmm. Well, when we
So,
get them back, maybe we should all go shooting. Have you ever shot an
yeah,
AR-15?
I have.
Have you
I
have?
know. Yeah.
It's fun, isn't it?
It's not so bad. I
It's
know.
fun. It is.
I think,
You can
I
admit
don't
it here.
know. I'm pretty sure even my daughter has a video of me like, like,
Well,
what am I doing?
hopefully you're aiming a little bit better than that. But no, they
Yes, 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 yes. It's been a long time, but
are.
yeah, I have.
There's
Yeah.
a reason they are so widely popular.
Yeah.
So, we might have to arrange something. That's fun. All right.
I
Thank you,
would be
Sarah.
willing to do that. Yeah.
I want to keep you at no more than 30 minutes. I know you got work to
Yeah.
do. So thank you so
Yes.
much. And
I
we'll see you
appreciate it.
we're finally dismissed.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, take care.
All right. Thanks. Bye bye.
Absolutely. All right, Jesse, we got to cover some more news here. News that you won't get anywhere else. I don't know why we got a freeze frame on her. That's a little bizarre. Okay, let me just move you over there. Perfect.
Yep.
So this episode is brought to you by Alpine Cabtree in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and also by John Galt Mortgage Company. If you're looking to buy a home, go to the good guys at John Galt Mortgage Company. You can go to johngaltmortgage.com. Check them out. I mean, if you're financing a home, unless you can pay for it in cash, but if you're financing a home, you might as well go to people that really care about your business and actually think politically the same way that you do. You can also check them out on X or Facebook, where they got a top-notch meme game. All right, Jesse. We talked about on Tuesday's show, Senate District 29 special election. Bruce Anderson passed away. This is a deep red district. There was actually a GOP endorsing convention on Tuesday because Wednesday was the last day of filing period. So catch us up to speed on this story.
Yeah, so you're right. We talked about it a little bit on Tuesday, but we can now report that Rhino Kip Christensen was defeated at the Senate endorsing convention for ST29. So after losing the MNGOP deputy chair race, Rhino Kip Christensen tried to fail upward and received the GOP endorsement for ST29 senator as a consolation prize. However, ST29 Republican delegates instead chose small business owner Michael Holmstrom to succeed deceased Senator Bruce Anderson. As seen in our previous reporting breaking this race down, this is a deep red district that Bruce Anderson won 68% of the vote for in 2022. And sources tell A4L that there were 116 delegates. All candidates agreed to abide by the endorsement, and the convention took 3 rounds of balloting to reach that endorsement. Holmstrom led the ballot on each round of these. He led the vote on each round of these ballots. And additionally, Melinda Mihalov, who I had previously reported on, did not seek the GOP endorsement despite being listed on the Wright County GOP website. And reportedly, the establishment tried to rally behind Kip in their final round, with Jason Franzen and Tina Dietrich endorsing Kip following the second round of voting, but Holmstrom maintained the lead and finished with 61% of the vote in the third and final round.
What do you understand the vote count was on the first and second ballot, just so people can understand how these work?
Oh, I don't have it in front of me, but it was something like he had 40%, 40 some odd percent, and then he climbed to 57%, and you need 60% to get the endorsement. So on that third round, he received over 60%, 61%, which granted him the GOP endorsement.
And I think Kip had like 22% in the first, and you could kind of see literally in the numbers like them coalescing, and ends up getting that close to 40%, which would have been close to stopping an endorsement, and then they have to just sell out in the primary. So pretty good victory for Michael.
Yep. Oh yeah, definitely. And it's very interesting that Jason Franzen and Tina Dietrich rallied behind Kip. Like I had previously reported that Tina had run against this Michael Holmstrom for the county commissioner seat a couple of years back. So there's a little bit of history between them. And who knows what this Jason Franzen's reasoning was. I mean, I'm sure it was just a bunch of sweet nothings that were promised to the two of them by Kip, but it wasn't able to work because the delegates were seeing that Michael Holmstrom was the choice. He was leading in each one of those rounds, so it was naturally fit that he won the endorsing convention. And Action for Liberty was told that establishment representative Walter Hudson was at the convention, but did not speak on Kip's behalf to the convention floor, despite loving the sound of his own voice and calling Kip a, quote, brother in arms through political trench warfare on social media. Hudson speaking on behalf of rhinos didn't seem to work out at the state central convention, where David Hand was canned and Kip was also defeated. And it also didn't work out for Walter Hudson when he was speaking on behalf of Rhino Ron Krisha at the House District 10A endorsing convention, where Ron Krisha failed again to win the endorsement. So it seems that Hudson not speaking doesn't seem to help out rhinos either. Maybe it's just because people don't want to vote for these rhinos. And it comes as no surprise that Kip was unable to win with the delegates in a deep red district, considering his record of fooling a blind, wheelchair-bound veteran onto the ballot for Congress under a marijuana political party. He was labeled a political stalker while working for the Rhino-funded Jobs Coalition. He partnered with Rhino David Hand to try to control the MNGOP. He fought to remove pro-life items from the MNGOP and RNC platforms. And there was much more, including him revealing that the former Democrat, ultra-liberal Speaker of the House was a mentor and friend to him following her tragic assassination, which was a secret that he likely would not have revealed otherwise. And his campaign website, which may have been a total waste of time and money on his part, includes a picture of himself and globalist rhino Tom Emmer, showing that where his true loyalties are. And many see Kip as a untrustworthy political operative, which of course is not the type of leader required to be senator. And of course, I always link President Trump calling Tom Emmer a globalist rhino. I hope to see us enter that era again, where Trump is spouting some truth on Emmer. But with the GOP endorsement, now Michael Holmstrom receives the full support from the MNGOP and the party to support his candidacy in the primary election. And in recent history, the majority of GOP endorsed candidates win their respective primary. And attendees tell A4L that Holmstrom had a video package narrated by radio host Joe Pags that his campaign was put together very quickly. And despite Michael Holmstrom previously interning for Rhino Marion Rarick in House District 29B, according to his social media, but sources tell Action for Liberty that Marion Rarick actually supported Kip over Mike at the convention. And it remains to be seen which of these candidates will join the primary. Actually, now we can report. I was looking at the filings at 10 a.m. this morning, and as of now, the only people who are remaining on that, besides the Democrat, includes, I have it written down somewhere.
Oh, I got it right now.
Yeah, okay. Kurtz, Davis, and Holmstrom are the only three remaining for the Republican primary, plus a Democrat. So that is
and literally the Democrat's name is McNutt.
Yep. So that means that Tina Dietrich and Melinda Mihalov and Jason Franzen had dropped out of the race. They were previously filed. Kip was never filed to begin with. So now we see what the primary is actually going to shake out to be. And today, Thursday, August 7th, is the final day for candidates to be able to withdraw from the race. So we'll see if anything else shakes out. But yesterday was the final day for candidates to file following the endorsing convention. And today is the final day for withdrawal. And additionally, the House District 34B and Senate District 47 special elections are also on our radar, with the GOP's Ruth Bittner running in the 34B seat against one of three Democrats in a generally blue district. And Senate District 47 is vacant due to Nicole Mitchell finally resigning from the Senate after a unanimous jury conviction of her burglarizing her widowed stepmother. And no evidence can be found if the Democrats are holding an endorsing convention between state representatives Amanda Hemmingson Jaeger and Ethan Chaw. And as it seems, based on I've seen no evidence of that, which makes me think the primary is set for those two representatives, and that might end up opening up another special election after that. We'll have to see. But the GOP in Senate District 47 has endorsed Dwight DeRue, who previously campaigned for office as, quote, not a burglar, and he did that to mock and draw attention to then Senator Nicole Mitchell. In both of those cases, with Ruth Bittner and with Dwight DeRue, they are the only Republican candidates who are seeking the endorsement and seeking the candidacy for it. So it was a natural.
Jesse, are you saying that there's not an endorsing convention inside the 90-day window of Walter Hudson producing an AI image of Nicole Mitchell?
Yeah, I guess so. Right, there was no endorsing convention on that side. So, but and
was there one of the Republicans? Because one could make that argument that still
right. Yeah, exactly. There was the SC29 endorsement. So, but as
I would even imagine if this ever was adjudicated in court, they would at least say yes, but it's got to matter in the district that the election is in.
So, right, even though it doesn't say that in law, I'm sure that's what they'll probably argue.
Well, if you're going to prosecute Walker for some obscure number on a firearm, why not read the most loose, vague interpretation of the law that he wrote, right?
And just to give people an update where we sit right now for the where the numbers are at within the legislature, because we've had all kinds of craziness going on with assassinations, deaths, and resignations and whatnot. So right now with things, the Minnesota House currently sits with a one-person GOP majority where they lead 67 to 66, and the Senate leads with Democrats lead with a 33 to 32 majority with two vacancies. So we'll keep people updated on these special elections as they continue to develop, and it will be determinative potentially of who holds power in Minnesota when margins are as close as they are.
Good. Last story I want to cover with you, Jesse, because I think this is so fascinating, and boy, am I enjoying reading your writing these days. Is this story about young Republicans? This is not something I had heard from anywhere else. So tell us, what is going on with Minnesota young Republicans?
Yep, I like to call them the Minnesota Young Rhinos because they're a party affiliate that is nothing more than a globalist Tom Emmer social club. It's a fanboy club for Tom Emmer, and all these young people are a bunch of rhinos that decide to go along with the establishment. So, like many political conventions, corruption and vote manipulation took place at the National Young Republican Convention, which was held to conduct the business of the organization. And notably, the Young Republican National Convention centered around the chairman election. The chair election included two candidates, with incumbent rhino Hayden Paget leading the quote "Grow YR" slate, and the America First challenger, Peter Gaiunta, leading the Restore YR slate. And also that Peter Gaiunta had the endorsement of former National Young Republican chair from 1977 to 1979, Roger Stone. He had Roger Stone's endorsement, which goes to show you which one is the true MAGA candidate and which one is not. And this race served as a microcosm for the current intra-party battles that are taking place within the GOP. The National Young Republican leadership had even selected neocon Nikki Haley as their preferred choice for president in November of 2023, and they chose Meatball Ron previously that year. And while many young conservatives are rebellious and would like to challenge the status quo, we see that all around the country. What do young conservatives are all about? It's that's why they like President Trump, because he's a rebel and he challenges the status quo. But the globalist rhino, Tom Emmer, loving Minnesota Young Rhinos group, voted for the establishment slate of candidates amidst major corruption. The National Young Republican Convention featured the chair, Hayden Paget, threatening to kick out pro-Trump delegates. I've got a video linked in there for that. They used super delegate positions like the DNC did to rig the election for Hillary Clinton, and they gave these super delegate positions to board members who serve on the board with the incumbent rhino, Hayden Paget. They had so-called state surveys that were used to manipulate delegate counts, that were used to hurt swing states, that probably did the most work to make sure that President Trump would win. They also had delegates that were blocked from being seated, and they had the credentials pulled from delegates that were America First. They were pulling the delegates of the most conservative. They were pulling the credentials of the most conservative delegates. And many online speculated that the election for chair was rigged because of a lot of those factors that I just discussed. And despite the obvious happening right in front of their faces, the Minnesota delegation voted for the establishment incumbent slate. The Rhino slate even passed a round of bingo card mocking ideas such as rooting out corruption, auditing, and election integrity. And so these are supposed to be people calling themselves MAGA, the people that are making fun of election integrity. And you can see a map of how the state young Republican delegations voted, and the blue states voting for the establishment slate, and the red states voting for the MAGA slate. And as you can see, there's the bingo card that the rhinos were passing around, mocking the idea of delegates wanting audits or election integrity, and saying that if somebody says stop the steal, they got this bingo card where they're mocking their own members. And these are the people that wanted to continue to maintain the leadership of the young Republicans. And there's the map right there, as you can see, with the red states being the ones who voted for the MAGA candidate and the blue states being the ones who voted for the establishment to continue to hold their power. And as you can see, there's a lot of, I would much rather be aligned with the Texas and Florida GOPs, which are obviously leading in a much stronger direction as opposed to the weak. Right, exactly. When I see this map, I see which GOPs are, fighting to be strong, and especially just at the young level, that, which ones are being controlled opposition by the establishment. And as you can see, all the states in blue, especially Minnesota, is being controlled by the establishment here. And if we continue to scroll down, we can see the Minnesota Young Rhinos at the convention proudly proclaiming their allegiance to the corrupt rhino slate. And so there's a picture with them all just happy to be there, even though they're voting for corruption. They're voting for the team that supports super delegates. They're voting for the team that is pulling credentials of conservative delegates. They're voting for the team that is using state surveys to screw over swing states. None of that makes any sense. And then if you scroll down a little more, you can see that they were putting this out on July 16th, that they were proud to support and endorse Hayden Paget, showing that they were just going along with the establishment. And, just like anything else, this is a social club. I'm sure they're friends with this Hayden Paget, So they decided to work with him. And so, beyond being a Tom Emmer Rhino social club to groom future rhinos, it is led by the Minnesota Young Rhinos is led by a gay Nikki Haley and David Hand backer named Jacob Ringstad, which is the guy that we had seen in one of those pictures there. The Minnesota Young Republicans are a party affiliate of the MNGOP that are granted certain privileges like delegate and alternate positions at state conventions, congressional district endorsing conventions, and state central conventions. This organization has become a breeding ground for young Republicans to get to rub elbows with politicians and become ingratiated into the social club rhino swamp. And while one might think that this organization is simply a group of 20-somethings, it allows individuals up to the age of 40 to be members. And we can see some of the members below, which includes neocon Nikki Lover, Jacob Ringstad, and Mason Eppender, Emmer Puppet Joe Tayrab, RNC committeeman and committeewoman A.K. Kamara and Emily Novotny Chance, former Rhino David Hand, MNGOP executive director Anna Matthews, and a bunch of others desperate to climb up the Rhino ladder. So that just goes to show you the type of social club this is, that those people aren't really about change, that they're not actually demanding that Republicans be conservative. They're happy to just be involved. They're just happy to be invited to the party.
How'd you miss Kip?
Oh, I didn't even notice. I didn't look too hard at the picture.
I mean, isn't it?
There's a bunch of people on there that I semi-recognize, but they're so irrelevant. You know, it's like I know some of these people are Senate Victory Fund staffers and this and that in the establishment, but you know, most of these people are just do-boys. They do as they're told, and they're establishment puppets. And the MNGOP should think twice about giving affiliate status and delegate positions to a group that is willing to look the other way when it comes to major corruption like what happened at their national convention. And in part, the 12 MNGOP party affiliates that exist represent the diversity identity politics that conservatives are seeking to eliminate. You know, if you look at the 12 affiliate list, there's a Hispanic one, there's a black one, there's a gay one. They got one for everything. And we just have to wonder, isn't this the kind of stuff that conservatives don't like? Aren't we supposed to be just going off of ideas, not immutable characteristics about ourselves? But it is likely true that the 12 MNGOP party affiliates that currently exist are currently serving the establishment's interests, because these groups have to keep those in charge happy if they want to keep their affiliate status. So it's a system that works to protect the establishment. And that's why if you see these affiliates at these conventions, at the state central, at the state convention, at the endorsing conventions for the Congress districts, they're usually voting for the establishment. And that just goes to show you that maybe these affiliates need to be eliminated, because obviously it's a process that's not working out. It doesn't make any sense. And corruption must be rooted out at all levels, and that not just within government, but within all of politics. And the Minnesota Young Rhinos are misrepresenting the voices of young conservatives across Minnesota who would never co-sign corruption, superdelegates, manipulated delegate counts, and kicking Trump supporters out of a convention. Real young conservatives would never let that fly. Real young conservatives would be on the side of the anti-establishment slate. So for these Minnesota Rhinos to be in there representing what the young people should be doing, representing young conservatives and young Republicans, that is such a joke, because this Rhino leadership that is currently in place is stifling participation and involvement for young America First conservatives to get involved, because all you have to do is look at the Minnesota Young Republicans Get Involved webpage on their website, and you can find that in over 1 year, they've had one person sign up to get involved. In over a year, they've only had one person who wants to get involved with the Young Republicans. That tells you that the leadership is flawed. They have no idea what they're doing. They're too busy trying to cozy up to Tom Emmer. And they should be trying to fight for, to expand the Republican Party and to get young conservatives involved. But obviously, they'd rather be a social club.
We got Razzle Dazzle saying Jesse is such a damn superstar for liberty and conservatives. Party platform push. I love it. Yes, I totally agree. Wait, no, you're not going to get this story anywhere else. So good job, Jesse. Tucker's got an interesting question. If we go back to this map here of the United States, Jesse, Wyoming is white. What's the deal behind that?
Yeah, so I don't know exactly why. I would presume it's because they just don't have a delegation, that they don't have a Young Republicans unit going on Wyoming, which I would assume that's the reasoning. And I don't think that they actually had a unit in 2023 either when I was looking at some of the history, what this convention had been like. So I think it's just because they don't have a party affiliate. But, I'm looking at Tucker myself and saying maybe some of us young Republicans need to, have a real America First conservative movement that takes over the young rhinos, because these people are a complete joke that are working for Nikki Haley and the establishment, and they're going to the national convention and co-signing on these super delegates and rigged elections and kicking delegates out. I think they're completely misrepresenting what young conservatives actually think and feel.
Jesse, just think about this: if this new America First, young America First Republicans, whatever you want to call yourself, recruit and mobilize 2 people, you've got 100% more than the YRs have. So that would be
No, I'm telling you, I think it'd take 20 people to beat these people. These people are, it's a social club, and they just want to rub elbows with politicians. And sooner or later, they're going to realize that it doesn't get you anything. And the only way to get anything is to employ the model that Action for Liberty does, which is to demand more out of your politicians and not worship them simply for existing.
Yes, just because they got an R behind their name doesn't mean they're good. Bill Dingsman says, just roll out of bed after a bender. Why the hell is the show on before noon today? Well, I'm sorry, Bill. We don't march to the beat of your drum, especially when it's late at night on the bender. But anyhow, we had to accommodate our great guest today, and they got some other things going on. So anyhow, it looks like Connecticut also wasn't on there. Tucker noticed. We're going to wrap up the show here. I just want to get through some comments. Becky says, there should be none. Everyone should be part of the caucus, BPOU, and so on. Bill Dingsman, last night I did an impression of Mary Franson during the special session, a.k.a. Tushy on the 100th episode of Truth Hurts. Becky says, where's the affiliate for white old ladies like me?
Well, that's the thing. I'm starting to think, I looked it up. According to, it was either the MNGOP Constitution or the MNGOP bylaws, the only thing that it requires is 25 members and that you want to expand the Republican Party. That's basically the only requirement set forth for someone to be an affiliate. So I think if they want to play this game where the establishment gets to own all of these affiliate positions, well, why don't we just make 20 more affiliate positions and run the game that way?
Let's think about this. So the young Republicans really don't mobilize or bring anyone in the Republican Party. And even our critics like Anna Matthews understands that Action for Liberty has brought in more people than any other organization, training, recruiting, mobilizing people to become delegates. And obviously a lot of Action for Liberty's people will choose the Republican Party over the Democrat. Not all of them. Some still try to stop vaccine mandates, in the Democrat Party, which doesn't work very well.
Or the libertarian.
Or libertarians. Yeah, that's true too. But, the vast majority are choosing to caucus with Republicans. There's no group organization that even comes close to how many. And yet they write scathing letters about Action for Liberty and trash us publicly because obviously they don't like the fact that we hold them accountable. So that's how politics is done.
And all you got to do, the fact that they got Joe Tayrab as part of their crew tells you everything you need to know about these people. It's
he's a really nice guy, to be honest with you, when I've met him. So he's a very nice guy.
I thought he was just kind of a phony. He just comes off as a politician. Like, of course he's being nice. Of course he can come across friendly, but that's what most politicians are trying to do.
It's true. Very true. All right, we're going to end it there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you to our great sponsors today. We had Alpine Cabinetry in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and John Galt Mortgage Company. You go to johngaltmortgage.com. We'll be back next Tuesday. You don't have anything special I could do a small post show today, but I don't really have anything, Jesse, unless you are. I think it's
nothing special that I can think of offhand.
I got a busy schedule, so we'll just we'll call it here, okay? And to all the people that are watching for the first time, we are live Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1:00. We just had to do a special one today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you again on Tuesday. Take care.